Alright, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to make a video about how I made the CG5 music video for Forbidden Feeling. I was the director of photography and colorist, and one of my good friends, McDonald, was the director. This was a really interesting project because it presented a lot of challenges that I was not used to before. One of them being doing a whole one take with a lot of moving parts simultaneously. So when I was presented with the idea, they told me that they wanted to do one solid take, which meant there was going to be no cuts at all. I think the only editing that needed to be done was on me with color grading. So as you can see, something like the sun, their faces, and other key elements of the video needed a little enhancing just to make sure that they were consistent, since everything was such a different lighting condition, and I knew that it was going to be a lot of work color grading all of these fine intricate details in post. That's why for production, I just wanted to make sure I had enough fill on the talent and other key visual elements within it. I could not have done that without our gaffers and our grip, Jarrod Wilson and Lusby. They're two guys that have been in the industry for way longer than I have and have a lot more experience. So I'm really grateful to have those guys on the project as well. Could not recommend them more enough. So when we were approached about the video, our creative director, Bradford, showed us the initial concept that him and CG5 came up with. It was essentially a one take that would be traveling throughout multiple boxes in different scenes or locations throughout the rooms. They gave us concept images. 4 boxes were the island and paradise room, the pink room, the dorm and bedroom, and the confined date scene. Now, I won't get too technical of a breakdown. I think I might save all that information for another video because I could go on and on about all those details. I think I did a pretty good job at getting enough fill and light in each of the rooms so that I could work with it. A big help in that was collaborating with our set designer, Ashton. I'm used to working on a project on a scene by scene basis, meaning that for each scene, it's gonna be its own unique lighting setup and camera setup. So for each, wide shot and close up, we can move elements as we need just to make sure the frame looks good. For this project, we couldn't do that. Instead, I needed to figure out a way to light the whole scene so that no matter where I move with the camera or no matter where CG5 goes or where the dancers go, they will have enough exposure with light on them. So for example, in our first 2 sets, our island room and our pink room, our creative workaround was having no roof. And instead, I decided that I wanted a white silk as a roof, which allowed light to bleed through, and it gives a really nice, soft, diffused look. For the dorm room and the date scene, that was not possible. As you can see in the video, there are ceilings in those sets, which I'm a fan of because I think it is congruent with the story. So my workaround for the bedroom was thinking that if we're not going to have a ceiling to have light cut through, I wonder if we could motivate light elsewhere. I needed a stronger key light. So I communicated with OT, our set designer, in pre-production that we should have a window cut out in one of the walls where we could kind of motivate moonlight or daylight into there. We also threw a bunch of RGB and mixed color lighting under the desk just to give it some more flair. It's a music video, so not everything needs to be motivated by reality, especially when you have, puppet socks coming into frame and a guitar coming out of frame being flown in. Now, moving on from there, in our reference photo that I was given for our date night room, we kind of followed that exactly how it was presented. In the reference photo, there was a small light bulb that was just hanging from the top. Given our resources, that was sufficient. Our gaffer Jarrod had a great tungsten bulb on hand, which worked out pretty well. It was pretty dark, just how it is. It's one light bulb. I knew that as long as I have enough data to work with in post, I'll be able to manipulate those levels just to make sure we have our exposure consistent. So at least with lighting, that was my approach. Make sure I at least have enough level and enough data to work with. Now with set design, that was also a really cool endeavor with this. I don't have too much experience working with really experienced set designers, so working with OT was a really enjoyable experience because he's worked on some pretty cool projects in the past, and he had a lot of valuable insight to lend to the project. which was really helpful. Another big department that was really fun to collaborate with was the choreographers. We had one choreographer, Jazzy, who killed it, and her team of dancers. I believe including her, we had about 6 dancers total. Being a one take, again, I had to move throughout the scene with them. Dash really had to help direct me and coordinate me with hitting my marks on certain beats and making sure I was giving the dancers enough space to work around me. For example, in the pink room, as I'm pushing in, I pan to my left to focus on Nate, one of our dancers, and in that one moment, I have to give enough space to Riyah and Jazzy, who are floating in behind me. The effect is these 2 dancers have just appeared out of nowhere. But in reality, in planning, I had to get that movement down so that the audience's eye is drawn towards Nate, when really the whole purpose of that is just to let the 2 dancers float in behind me. Working with Dash was a really fun collaboration because I'm fortunate enough to have a really good relationship with him, as I met him in high school. We were roommates throughout college, and now that we're out of college, we're still working on projects together. So I was grateful that I could have a really open and honest lane of communication with him. Since he has a history within dance and choreography himself, he was able to communicate really effectively with the dancers and myself, making sure that we were on the same page and doing his job as the director, making sure we are directed to do the right things. It's a really smooth process since we have such a good rapport, because not only are we friends, but we are understandable of each other's creative process and workflow now. Overall, working on this project was really eye-opening. It was just fun. Every time we would wrap a take and I would set the camera down to get the monitor ready to show everybody, and seeing them laugh, seeing them, you know, exclaim, and seeing them just happy. It was a really fun experience. Can't express how lucky I am to be able to do my job. How did I do this? One, I knew Dash for a while, so I have been able to learn his process. He's been able to learn my process, and we found what works well. You know, eventually it leads to projects like these where we have so much experience with each other that we feel so comfortable as a director DP combo. The other variable was learning the specialty of being a cinematographer, knowing what it takes to work with gaffers, work with your grips, communicating with them what needs to happen, because I'm also the colorist. I'm the one that will process the footage in post. I know exactly what I'm looking for. I know exactly how I'm going to manipulate the footage. Being able to work with a guy like Jarrod and Lee, you know, really experienced guys in the industry that have been doing this for a very long time, has been awesome, because they helped me along the way too. They gave me ideas for lighting. They gave me kind of a list of what lights to work with. And that was a really big theme throughout the whole project. Experienced people that have been in the industry for a while, combined with guys like Dash and I, who have really kind of just entered the market and entered the world of filmmaking. Blending experience with the knowledge of new technology and the internet was a really cool blend. I hope this video kind of gave you a little insight into what my point of view was as a DP on this project. So I don't want to make this video too long. If there's a technical breakdown that you guys want to see, let me know. I have overheads that I can show with lighting breakdowns, color grading breakdowns. If you have any ideas how to make these better, please let me know, whether that's a comment or you send me a private message. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.